Wow, it's really over. What an absolute ride this has been. With over 100 million copies in circulation, Jujutsu Kaisen has been one of the most popular and polarizing series in New Gen Shonen Jump. Say what you want about the ending. You can't deny the impact that JJK has had on the anime and manga community over the last 6 years. However, this ending was far from perfect, and the same thing can be said about the manga itself. To many, this ending was unsatisfactory and rushed, and for the most part, I completely agree. There are already tons of great videos deconstructing and critiquing this last chapter and ending, so I wanted to bring something different to the table. For the purposes of this video, I will be playing devil's advocate for JJK's ending. So strap in, because I might have to do some reaching. Now for some common complaints. Plot holes and dropped plot lines. I see a lot of people talking about the plot holes left in JJK. And while I definitely agree that there may be a few, I think people are mixing up plot holes and dropped plot lines. The definition of a plot hole is a gap or inconsistency in a storyline that goes against the flow of logic established by the story's plot. So, for example, us not getting any follow-up information on names like the Fallen, the Angel, Usami, these are all dropped plot lines. While some of these would have been cool to explore further, I honestly feel like most of them would not be necessary to move the plot forward. Like I saw someone talking about the 5 Void Generals and asking why we didn't learn more about them. Buddy, they all got one tap by Sukuna. What more do we need? But while we're on the topic, here are some plot lines I would have liked to see more of. Kenny's plan with the US military, / world repercussions going forward, a brief Heian Era flashback, information on who was with Takuba in 270, backstory for the 3 clans / plans moving forward, and of course, more simple domain lore. I think Gege dropped the ball with these and a few more. Like, what was the point of the military plotline if it was just going to be abandoned? I know the purpose was to generate more cursed energy for the merger, but I don't know, man. This makes me think of a Crockpot analogy. I think that Gege had great ingredients such as his characters, the world, the power system, and the cook time for this Crockpot was set for 12 hours. But I think that Gege took out the dish at around 9 or 10 hours. So it was a bit undercooked, but still a decent meal at the end of the day. Was it Geto or Kenjaku with Takuba at the end? Knowing Gege, it very well could have just been a lookalike. But why even bother adding that into the second to last chapter? My headcanon is that he's leaving things somewhat vague, just in case he ever wants to return to the series. I don't think he will anytime soon, but who knows, maybe in 5 years he'll want to expand on things. I'd be here for it. Zero Gojo funeral or mention. While it is extremely disrespectful that Gojo did not get a single mention after he single-handedly carried both the plot and Jujutsu Society. To play devil's advocate, I feel like it's safe to assume that they gave him a proper burial. Besides Megumi's sister, no characters really got a proper burial in JJK. Think back to Haibara, Nanamine, Chozo, and Yuki. I'll reach a bit and say that this is just another aspect of Jujutsu Society. Sorcerers die all the time, which seems cold to say, but we know that the main cast has been affected by every death throughout the series. As a Gojo glazer, the scene between him and Yuji nearly brought a tear to my eye. Here we see a moment of introspection for Gojo as he says, "Haven't we had enough, Gojo Satoru?" Absolutely not, but he has a point. Jujutsu Society has to be more forward-thinking. It's not right or optimal to solely rely on one person. That's why Gojo had a dream of raising up the next generation so no one would ever have to shoulder the burden of being a monster alone like he did. How Gojo was handled. I believe it was a pretty good end to his character arc. His dream is being realized, and I'm happy that he was happy, finally fighting someone that could understand and stand with him as the strongest. It could have been cool to bring him back via a binding vow of some sorts to give up a 6-eye. All the one-eye imagery would have made this hit. Also, it would have lowered the physical and mental barrier that Infinity represents, allowing him to better connect with others and live a normal life that he really was never allowed to have. How Megumi and Nobara were handled. I wish that we had more time with Megumi and Nobara to see them develop. Nobara being sidelined for 100+ chapters did not help her case at all. Similar situation for Megumi in the last quarter of the manga. Megumi had an incomplete domain and Nobara hit a black flash early in the series. But have they really grown since then? Especially compared to Yuji? I believe they both got shafted, and that's unfortunate. Following along with that, we never got to see Megumi's full potential with the 10 shadows. I hear you on this, but after Sukuna took control and started using max power versions of the 10 shadows, I figured we'd probably never get to see Megumi's full potential. But hey, at least his divine dog is probably special grade now. Hana Slander. I understand the criticism for Hana and Angel considering how she has 0 feats outside of unsealing Gojo, so I'm just gonna skip this. No Heian Era flashback. Flashback could have given us a lot more insight into characters like Kenjaku, Sukuna, and Kashimo, and I would have loved to have seen it. But honestly, I think that we got enough context for all of them in the brief flashback panels. Don't get me wrong though, 2 to 3 chapters of Heian Era world building would have fed generations. World building shoved into the last chapters. This one's also tough to defend. Simple domain lore in the final 3 chapters? Yeah, Gege. If we needed this, it should have been told 100 chapters ago. Those panels could have been used for the characters' reflections on current Jujutsu society and plans for the future with the clans and all that. Sukuna's conclusion. While there may be some elements of Talk no Jutsu, I enjoyed Sukuna's conclusion, and I'm saying that as his #1 hater. In his final scene, he was accompanied by Mahito of all people, since he touched his soul, and them being together in the final scene is pretty fitting because at first, both of them had hedonistic views on life, with them always acting on their own accord. Mahito attributed it to him being a curse, while Sukuna claimed he lived the only way he knew how. But that's not true. We get a bit of a backstory for Sukuna and learn that he was acting on revenge his whole life. Revenge against everyone that cursed him. I think that is all the backstory we need for Sukuna, to be honest. I think this was great closure for Sukuna, and I think it was fitting of his character. He's only ever acknowledged strength. Might makes right was essentially his belief, so him losing here made him reflect. And the one to teach him about love was Yuji. And with that, JJK is now over. Are there some plot holes? Maybe. Was the ending rushed and a bit underwhelming? Most likely. But we don't have all the information regarding the situation. Did Gege drop the ball on some plot lines / threads? Most definitely, but not all of them were necessary. We also have to keep in mind that this is Gege's first official long-running manga, so it's a given that he's gonna have some weaknesses in his writing. Gege also dealt with health issues during the series, including getting his appendix removed around the time of chapter 262. And him returning as soon as he did was an insane feat, and this could have been part of the reason why JJK ended sooner than expected. Throughout the ups and downs of the series, I had fun reading and watching JJK. So, thank you Gege for your hard work over the last 6 years. This truly was our Jujutsu Kaisen. Thank you for watching.